Hey folks, this is Riker, and we just got the most significant Diablo 3 patch notes that we have seen in literal years. Today, we're going to look at the 2.7 PTR preview patch notes, and I know right away, everyone's first question is, what is the Season 23 theme? Well, the theme is, no theme. Instead, here is a massive permanent rework to the follower system. For the last few seasons, every season theme that they add, at the end people are like, oh, could we keep this permanently? Oh, could we keep this permanently? This time they just skipped straight. Okay, make it permanent. But let's dive into it. So PTR testing will last 2 weeks, starting February 25th. Some of the focus is going to be on rework to the Firebird set for Wizard, the Rathma set for Necro, balance updates, nerfs, for the Demon Hunter's GOD set, and the Witch Doctor's Gazing Demise. That will be the Mundunugu Witch Doctor build. That one I'm a bit surprised about. Demon Hunter GOD, if it gets a nerf, it needed a nerf. I'm surprised it didn't get nerfed last season. But also, new feature testing here. Again, revamped follower system, but also solo Greater Rift leaderboards. We'll dive more into that as we get there. Alright, let's get straight to the follower system revamp here. Again, this will be permanent, not just for the next season, but as soon as this patch goes live, it'll be available for season and non-season play. Now your follower can be equipped with 14 different items. So that's basically the regular 13 that you can deck out a character with, plus the extra follower token. So followers get more items than we do now. But that's not all. We're introducing a new follower feature in D3 called Emanate, which allows the player to gain the intended effect of certain legendary powers and set bonuses when equipped on the hired follower. And here are the Emanate capable items. Broken Crown, alright, if you're early season hunting for extra gems, okay. Homing Pads, this is an interesting one. Homing Pads are not used in any endgame build because the shoulder slot often is not something you can give up, be it because you're wearing a set bonus or there's just some better item there. I wonder if there's going to be something, somehow, where this could actually benefit us if we can. It wouldn't be worth sacrificing a cube slot for instance, because it's not a huge damage multiplier, but maybe if you're basically getting here a second shoulder slot item, so if you had an extra, I wonder if this is something that can actually serve as a little situational buff for certain builds. Spalders of Zakara, item's indestructible. Gold Skin, I guess if you're going for some kind of gold find build, you know what, maybe even to work into speedrunning builds to add to the trio of the Avarice Band Ring, the Gold Wrap Belt, and the Boon of the Hoarder Gem. Maybe putting that on the follower can somehow help with that regular Rift speedrunning setup. Again, you would never wear a gold skin, there's just too many important chest options, you would never go for that. But if you're getting a free chest piece, maybe. Custarian Wrist Guards, picking up gold grants experience. Once again, we have too many important bracers, we would never give up a bracer slot for these. And given what we see as our next option, I just don't see these being competitive with Nemesis Bracers. Getting free Nemesis Bracers is a boon to any build. The ability to spawn extra elites, get more progress, get more kills more rapidly, more progress globes dropping, potentially triggering your Ingum, potentially giving you more Death's Breaths depending on your activity. I imagine every follower build is going to use Nemesis Bracers. Gladiator Gauntlets after earning a Massacre bonus, gold rains from the sky. If there's nothing better, maybe toss it in with the whole gold farming setup, but we'll likely be using the Gloves of Worship instead. Shrine effects last 10 minutes. This does not apply to pylons, which would be a ridiculous boon. If that were the case, we would see that in regular play, but you're probably going to take that over Gladiator Gauntlets. I imagine the single player XP farming meta might be something like, step 1, go find an XP shrine, pop it, have 10 minutes now of extra XP, and do, 5 speed GRs. Dovu Energy Trap, that's the amulet that increases the duration of stun effects. Up to 25%, actually, combined with Land of the Dead for the Necromancer, that's pretty powerful. Of course, not powerful enough to warrant you equipping it yourself, there's far better amulets, but as a buff from a follower, that's pretty nice. Oh, and the follower can now wear the Avarice Band. Again, ring slots, very competitive slots, so now that you can put the Avarice Band on your follower, you can keep the big damage rings on yourself. Awesome. Creed's Flame, taking fire damage restores your primary resource. This is an odd one. I imagine this one has such situational use that it's just not going to come into play. But the Flavor of Time, this is such a significant boon. This is going to be what you're going to see almost every follower wearing. The Flavor of Time pylon effects last twice as long. In general, if you don't know what amulet to wear a Flavor of Time. Depending on your build, there might be something better, but you're definitely not going wrong with a Flavor of Time. It is a much more random buff. From one run to another, your Flavor of Time might benefit you tremendously more. It all depends on what pylons you find, how many of them, but this has the potential to be an immense boon. And then we have our two sets, Sage's Journey. This'll double the number of death spreads that drop, or more specifically, whenever one DB drops, another one drops. If you can fit this into your follower, no reason not to. While you're doing rift farming, get more death's breath. Few farming builds these days work in Sage's Journey onto yourself. The meta is basically just, instead of increasing the number of DBs, just be more powerful and faster to farm more DBs more quickly. Now you can do both. And then Canes, whenever one Greater Rift key drops, there's a 25% chance that another drops. This helps you farm up your GR keys faster. So overall, what we're seeing here, a lot of these picks are designed around really helping solo play. This is the most tremendous solo play patch. In fact, Season 23 is the season of solo play, basically. Group play is far more efficient than solo play. A lot of these things are going to help bring that to parity. And we also get follower skills revamp. So for the Scoundrel here, Crippling Shot deals damage and slows enemies hit by 80% for 3 to 6 seconds based on the Scoundrel's dexterity. Interesting, so now you have reason to actually care about gearing your follower with regards to affixes. More dex will result in a longer slow effect. Now adding CCs to followers, adding crowd controls to followers, could be good, could be bad. For the average player, it's good. For the very high-level player, I can see them pulling their hair out right now. At super high-level play, pushing really high Greater Rifts, like the top players need to control very specifically what crowd control is applied to enemies, because monsters build up crowd control immunity. At some point, that Rift Guardian, once you apply too much CC to it, it's just not going to suffer any CC anymore. So you want to be selectively applying CC when it matters most, not just willy-nilly apply CC whenever. But again, this is a problem for 1% of the player base, and presumably you can just choose to not equip this skill at all, because you can always choose one or the other skill, or you can just click neither, and then neither's equipped. So I think it's fine. Then we have Powered Shot. Explodes on impact, deals damage, 100% chance to stun based on dex. More CC. I guess the difference here is this is a slow and this is an outright stun. We have some game effects that trigger based on any CC, others that trigger specifically only on stun. Now this one here, Hysteria. Whenever you or the Scoundrel land a crit, you'll both go into hysterics, increasing all damage done by 3% for up to 6 seconds based on the Scoundrel's dex. Okay, I mean, it's a very small damage buff, but nonetheless, 3% damage buff right there that will be able to have up 100% of the time, right? Once you get that 6 seconds going, you will be attacking often enough to be critting enough to have 100% uptime on 3% more damage. Now this right here increases crit chance by up to 4% for you and the Scoundrel based on the Scoundrel's dex. 4%. More crit chance there. That's almost another item's worth of crit chance. And then as a passive, that's new, the Scoundrel's special attacks have up to a 70% chance to fire 3 bolts based on the Scoundrel's dex. I do wonder if they're increasing the damage that your followers do to make them relevant. Because right now the damage your followers do is completely irrelevant. There's no point in building up a follower. Before this patch, there was no point in trying to build up damage on a follower. All you cared about really was attack speed and cooldown for them to activate their powers as often as possible. Because their damage relative to yours is literally nothing. So I wonder if this is coming with a rework of the amount of damage the follower deals. And if so, how much damage will a follower deal? How are they going to scale that? These are all very important questions. Now look at this. Skill rework vanish. When you take fatal damage, the Scoundrel conceals you from enemies for up to 7 seconds. An extra free life. Or, theoretically, you can now choose to not equip your extra life passive. Keep it on your follower, and now you have an extra passive skill that you can deal more damage with or whatever you want to do. This is such a great patch for solo players. Alright, Knight's Veil. Scoundrel launches a cloud, 20-foot area, lasts 10 seconds. All attacks against enemies that are inside the cloud will be crits. Whoa. Now I'm wondering, is there gonna potentially be some kind of build with the Shimizu Haori? Maybe some kind of build where you don't have any or very little crit chance on your gear and you're relying on your Scoundrel and other factors to give you that crit chance? I'm not expecting much to come from this, but maybe some crazy uber player like Wudijo is going to come up with some insane build with it. Then we have Piercing Shot, range attack that pierces and increases damage done to enemies by 10% for up to 6 seconds. 10% damage buff. Followers are becoming very worthwhile. So that's the Scoundrel. Now the Templar. Alright, let's see. These skills are now based on the Templar's strength. Okay, so what we're seeing overall is a lot of scaling to stats, which is good. It gives us reason to actually care about the stats we put on our followers. Cool. Alright, Intimidate. Enemies are slowed. Alright, so that's similar to the Templar's ability. Charge. So that's stun attack. Alright, so we see so far very similar between the Templar and the Scoundrel. Then we have a Taunt. That's to pull off some aggro. Alright. Then we have Onslaught. Deals damage, and then those enemies take 10% increased damage for up to 6 seconds. Alright, again, similar to the Scoundrel. And then lastly, when you take fatal damage, it's the extra life passive. So, alright, these two are very similar right now. There's still some key differences between them, especially based on skills that they haven't touched. As of right now, it looks like the Scoundrel likely to be the more popular choice because it's able to increase your damage more. Templar being a more defensive option. Let's look at the Enchantress here. Affected enemies take 10% more damage. Alright, similar things. Increases attack speed by up to 6%. Scales now. Reduces damage by 6% from ranged attacks. Increases armor by 3. And slows melee attackers by 6 for you and the Enchantress. Okay, so this is actually even more defensive than the Templar here. So we're getting a little bit of damage reduction, a little bit of an armor boost, as well as a CC on enemies. Then we have that skill that slows enemies by 80%. Oh, look at this. Increases your highest static elemental bonus by 5 to 10% based on the Enchantress's intelligence? Whoa. Your highest static elemental bonus, I mean, every asterisk build in D3 focuses on stacking one single elemental bonus, so buffing that up by 10%? Nice. Reduces your cooldowns by up to 10%. 10% more cooldown reduction. Alright, Enchantress. It's Enchantress, right? Not all builds care this much about cooldowns, but imagine being able to free up one item slot to not have to roll cooldown reduction on it. Or otherwise, just having this extra amount, this 10%, to help reach that next cooldown breakpoint. Oh, this is really significant. And then when you take fatal damage, the extra life, right? Wow. Clearly I'm overwhelmed and not seeing something because I don't see how the Templar is competitive anymore. The Templar presumably still gets his ability to generate more resource for you, which I always used to like. But geez, some of these things that these other two get now, wow. Followers are so much more significant now, wow. Alright, Solo Leaderboards Update. Greater Rift Solo Leaderboards now contain additional filters to sort by. This update provides a total of 7 filters available per class. Class sets, no class set, overall default. Oh my god. There was a website that did this for a very brief amount of time, and it just cost too much to run the website. The guy ended up shutting it down, but I loved that website. Being able to filter by class set. Wow, that is such an awesome feature. And this is going to really help the game as well, because imagine you want to run a Firebird Wizard, and you do a GR 120, and you're feeling really proud of yourself, and then you look at the leaderboards, and everyone is like 150 or whatever, 140, 130, 140, 130, and you're not even anywhere there. And then you just feel bad, and like, well, I guess... what are they running? Oh, they're running a different build. Let me run their build. But if you can just compare yourself to the Firebird Wizards and you see, oh man, I'm the #1 Firebird wizard. Now people will be more incentivized to play more than just the best meta build. This is a fantastic change. Currently, leaderboards promote the idea that these are the only builds that you should be playing. So by opening that up and showing, no, actually here, like, okay, yeah, maybe Firebirds is 10 GRs lower, but you can still compete with those people. These builds do exist. They're not, you know, complete garbage. I really like this feature. Then season rewards, portrait frame, pet. We don't see them yet, but okay. All right, onto the balance changes here. The Rathma set rework. All right, the 2-piece bonus stays the same at first, but they add your skeletal warriors spawn faster, and your revived minions no longer expire. Are they turning this into a revived set? The devs spent, when they were developing the Necromancer, they spent more time figuring out revive. It required creating so many assets. It was so much dev time into a skill that no one uses. If they could make revive a thing, that would be fantastic. Your revived minions no longer expire. Let's see. All right, the 4-piece, this is an increase from 50 stacks to 75 stacks. So what we're seeing here is more tankier. And then the 6-piece, are they just removing the cap? Each active minion increases the damage of Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit by 1,000. Currently, it's capped at a max of 4,000. Are they removing the cap? They've added Bone Spirit. That's new as well. But is this literally uncapped now? That can't be. How many active minions can a Necro have? Let's see. Command Skeletons gives you 7. Skeletal Mage you can have up to 10 temporarily, so 17. Revive gives you another 10, we're up to 27. Then Golem is 28. There's probably some item that gives you some extra minions or something, but regardless, 28, that's 28,000% more damage. Now, in fairness, it's difficult to keep up that many minions, but nonetheless. Now, Army of the Dead has a ridiculously high cooldown, but Bone Spirit is fairly spammable. Bone Spirit does a baseline of 4,000 damage, add a 28,000% multiplier on that. That is gonna be one-shotting some Rift Guardians. Now, something I didn't notice at first here. Another couple changes. Each active minion, it used to be each active skeletal mage, but the more significant one increases the damage of Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit. It used to be Army of the Dead and your minions. Your minions used to be really the thing that would deal damage with a Rathma build. Rathma Necros were the summoners, and it was their minions doing all the damage. No one used Army of the Dead. Now it's looking like it's going to be probably entirely a Bone Spirit build, which is interesting. We've been asking for a Bone Spirit build. And then they're changing the Defiler quiz to add, it'll also freeze enemies on impact. I believe that is to trigger the Crisbin Sentence Ring. That makes sense. Then we're getting a new item entirely, Bones of Selena. Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit deal 300% to 400% increased damage. Bone Spirit deals an additional 2% increased damage for 5 seconds each time Army of the Dead hits an enemy. Interesting. Well, this will have to be worked into builds. It's not clear what kind of item this is. I'm gonna guess Bracer, simply because Necros don't have a lot of options for Bracer slots. It could also be a Phylactery. Their Phylacteries are generally weak, but it's saying Bonds. Generally Bonds, James Bonds, tend to be Bracers, right? Bonds of Kalina. Alright, onto Wizard's Firebird set. When you die, a meteor falls from the sky and revives you. Did they remove the 60-second cooldown on that? I'm guessing they're just not writing it. They cannot remove the cooldown on that. That just means you never die. But they're adding Disintegrate ignites enemies, causing them to take a bunch more weapon damage per second until they die. That's a pretty robust 2-piece bonus. Alright, let's see what else they got. 4-piece, you gain 80% damage reduction and 4,000% increased damage while Ignite is applied to a target. Disintegrate ignites enemies, so you should be able to have 100% uptime on that, which is fantastic. That's been a problem with Firebirds. Casting Disintegrate adds combustion stacks that reduce the cooldown of Teleport by 2% per stack. Stacks up to 50 times. So we can have basically 0 cooldown on Teleport. Interesting. While disintegrating. Lots of damage reduction. Significant damage buff. This is a complete rework. We're not even gonna bother saying what the Firebird set used to be other than trash. Seriously though, Firework's gone through a couple reworks in the past. It's never gone into a really good place. The Firebirds has always had some rather cumbersome mechanics to both comprehend and playthrough, and it's just never been really worthwhile to bother. So hopefully this could be the one. Hopefully this could be the one that actually works. But let's see the 6-piece now. Hitting an ignited enemy with a fire spell other than Disintegrate deals ignite damage multiplied by combustion stacks. Okay, apparently we like stacks on stacks with wizards. So we can have 50 combustion stacks. Does that mean we're having 50 times the 4,000? Or 50 times the 3,000? I guess the ignite damage is the 3,000. So if it's 3,000% weapon damage multiplied by 50 stacks, that's a 150,000% weapon damage. These are some big numbers that we're looking at. I think this is one that I'm gonna wanna see how it actually plays out. At the very least, this new means of gaining the damage reduction is a huge quality of life improvement for Firebirds. This was a problem with Firebirds, that you were very vulnerable until you can get your damage reduction going. Now it's very easy to do. It's looking like the playstyle is going to be basically sitting in place, channeling Disintegrate, and then instead of running around to move, you're just instantly teleporting everywhere, which could be interesting. It's different at the very least. It allows you to be mobile while being immobile. Alright, on to the other changes. Gears of the Dreadlands. Hungering Arrow pierces a max of 2 times while wearing Gears of the Dreadlands. Okay, so that's an interesting way of bringing the nerf to GOD. This is something that will have not a huge impact, I think, on most players. It's not going to affect speedrunning much. It's really just going to affect super high GR pushes, I imagine, which is overall, I guess, good news for most players who play GOD. You'll likely not be massively impacted by this. You possibly won't even really feel this nerf. And then the Gazing Demise, the damage of Spirit Barrage is increased by 150%. Okay, so that's the nerf. It used to be that each active Phantasm gives you 150%, and you would have 3 active Phantasms. So that's a significant nerf there. In fairness, it is true that Mundanugu's was overperforming compared to other Witch Doctor sets. It didn't seem too powerful compared to all other builds, but amongst Witch Doctor sets, sure. Okay, this is not RIP Mundanugu. Mundanugu is still likely to be the best Witch Doctor build. It's just making Witch Doctor an overall less enticing choice for players. And then random Blackthorn's change replaced one primary property with a random elemental with a random elemental damage affix. These are Blackthorn's pants. I see what they're doing. So currently the Swampland Waders are the only pants that can roll elemental damage. Those are a Witch Doctor item, so it's very difficult if you're not playing a Witch Doctor to get those pants. You have to do a lot of annoying workarounds, like basically just have a Witch Doctor friend or run a Witch Doctor just to get that item. Now they're basically turning Blackthorns, an item that drops for everyone, into Swampland Waders with respect to the elemental affix. Swampland Waders do have their own legendary property, but that's irrelevant. It's really just about the elemental affix. That's why people desire it. So now we're actually making use of Blackthorns to solve. It's a quality of life improvement, and it's great. And then a set dungeon update. Because they redesigned the Rothma set, they have to change the Rothma set dungeon. That's fair. So overall, this is looking to be, again, this is the most significant, just the follower rework. The rework of an entire game system that has been quite literally untouched for like a decade. This is one of the most significant patches the game has gotten in the past 5 years, easily. And it begs the question, what's almost most exciting about this is, what else are they open to changing if they're open to reworking? Again, this system that has been untouched forever. People have been begging Blizzard, please do something with followers for years. Is it possible we can start touching things like Paragon now, like in more significant ways? What else are the devs now open to changing, to improving, to adding? 2 years ago, I would have never expected this degree of change coming to Diablo 3. It felt like the game was just in a finite state. All we would literally get would be, every season, maybe tune some numbers, getting new items, complete reworks of sets, new system changes. I would have never expected this. The Diablo team could have easily been, we got Diablo Immortal coming, we got Diablo 2 Resurrected coming, screw D3, we don't have to do anything with D3 anymore. They're still doing stuff with D3. Yeah, it's not giant content patches, but it's shaking up in a pretty significant way, a game that can very easily be considered stale. Now, as you go into testing of the new content, you can rest assured I'll have more videos coming up on builds, tier lists, all that, and of course on maxroll.gg you can find all the best written guides, and I collaborate with those guys on making the videos, so we're all looking forward to bringing you folks Season 23 content. But I now turn the question to you. What do you think of these patch notes? Sound off in the comments. Also, in case you've missed my BlizzCon coverage, I got a video covering Diablo 2 Resurrected. I've got a video covering the new Diablo 4 info. Be sure to check those out if you haven't. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more Diablo content.